Morning, everyone. Thank you for coming to this presentation titled Fact from Fiction. I'm sure you're aware the changes in our industry with regarding electric vehicles, electrification is a whole subject. And there's a lot of misconception. People have got a lot of their own opinions about it. They read something, they get that misconstrued. And in a lot of cases, they haven't actually got any practical experience of actually living with an EV vehicle. I've been driving EV vehicles for over several years now. That's my second I-Pace now. So the stuff we're going to look at is actually from real experience, along with obviously all the training that we do as well. Now, obviously, we are limited with time, so we might have to skip a few slides, but if there's anything that's not quite clear at the end of this, by all means, come over there and we can have a more of a detailed chat on our stand. A quick review of the opening page. What's driving our EV market? These are just 4 electric vehicles that are picked out at some sort of random. The Kia, top left-hand corner, and the Porsche Taycan, or the Audi e-tron, might seem completely chalk and cheese cars, but as you may know, the Audi and the Kia and the Hyundai are both 800-volt cars. So that's clearly the avenue the industry is going. So 800 volts will become the dominant EV structure, probably from 2025. So most manufacturers will be going 800 volts from 2025. There's a lot of benefits from that, and again, we could discuss that on a further time. Bottom left-hand corner is the VW ID. That's their complete encompassing electric vehicle range. ID3, ID4, ID5. I think there's even an ID6 now. And of course, all the sister brands will have it. And one of the unique things of that, given the car is a design from the ground upwards, the ID3 has a footprint size of a Golf, but the interior space is that of a Passat. So that's when you start seeing the benefits of an EV. Also, standard fitment now is rear-wheel drive. So most EVs now are coming as a standard rear-wheel drive vehicle, and obviously four-wheel drive as an option. Bottom right-hand corner is pretty much the only hydrogen fuel cell vehicle. So that's the Toyota Mirai. Again, hopefully we can get to that subject and we can have a look a bit about the viability of hydrogen fuel moving forward. 3 companies that are all guilty of something. Anyone want to tell me what they were guilty of? Sorry?
Having a Kodak moment.
Yeah, yes. Yes, exactly right. I'm sure you all know that. But all those companies were at the pinnacle of their game. They saw the change coming, didn't think it would affect them then, and they could adapt to it later on, and they've all gone. I think at one point, the highest number of employees in Kodak worldwide was in excess of 250,000 employees. And they turned down digital photography on the basis that they'll make enough money from processing film, and why bother now? So when you're looking at companies here today and companies you know and vehicle manufacturers, don't assume what you see today is what you'll see in 5 or 10 years' time. This is a fundamental change to the entire industry, and a lot of people may not make it. Looking at some car sales in the UK, this is the latest month, so this is ending May. Diesel sales. Diesel sales are down 50% on the month. They now only represent 5% of all new cars registered. 5% of all new cars registered are diesel. Whereas EV is now up 88%, and 15% of all cars registered are now just purely electric vehicles. Now that is a fundamental change, and you can see how that will probably continue to accelerate as time goes forward. Norway, as you may know, is going to ban the sales of combustion vehicles from 2025, so the first country within Europe to do so. A lot of other European countries are going to do it in 2027, and the majority, along with ourselves, are going to do it in 2030. But if you look at Norway, we can use them as like a gauge of what's happening, and you can see the decline in the various combustion vehicles. The black line is diesels, and you can see that's collapsed quite dramatically down to pretty much zero. And if you look at our analogy, we're not far behind that, really. The white line is the collapse in petrol combustion vehicles. And again, that's followed on, and I think we will see that in the coming years in the UK market. Interestingly, the red line is hybrids. Now again, like most European countries, hybrids will be banned along with combustion vehicle bans as well, so 25, 27 or 30. And again, you can see that market's completely collapsed in Norway. So straight away with that, and no disrespect to them, but you think to yourself, what is the Toyota market in Norway now then? Or what is the market for Toyota in Norway? And the answer is they don't have one. And someone like Toyota, one of the largest vehicle manufacturers in the world, actually don't have a market in Norway. Even though the actual ban by the government will be 2025, the reality is that they're fast approaching it now. The prediction is, as we speak, they may have actually hit the point where they are no longer selling any new combustion vehicles. So it could be 2.5 years ahead of the actual date, just through, effectively, natural progression. So things are moving very, very fast. A lot of companies are going into the EV route for political reasons, environmental reasons, and obviously tax benefits. So as an example, Asda have all now gone to electric vehicles and will change the fleet entirely. And I'm sure other companies are looking at it as well. So if you are involved in any fleet work, bear that in mind. You may not have to wait for your customers to get EV vehicles. It may be a big fleet contract, could go to EV very quickly. Bridgestone, we do some training for them, and they've done a survey through YouGov, and of all their customers, 67% said they're going to go EV. So nearly 7 out of 10 of their customers, of a 2,000 survey poll, said they're going to go EV. And the other thing that's interesting in that is about 50% want more information. So you as a garage owner or a business owner, you need to know this so you can convey that to your customers. If nothing else, just give them an understanding that you do know what's happening out there. Rather than just saying, well, I don't know really. You actually know what's happening and what is the reality, what is the truth. Because again, there are so many misconceptions and misunderstandings about what actually is going on with EVs themselves. Obviously, every city around the country now is getting some sort of emission zone. Bristol, Bath, Portsmouth, Bradford, Birmingham, London. We've got emission zones coming around. I think there's over 20 cities that are going to have some sort of emission zone in the next year or so. Only this week, Edinburgh, Glasgow, Dundee, several Scottish cities have put in emission zones. So that will continue to roll, and it will continue to have an impact on your customers and what cars they look for the future. Obviously, London, we've now got emission zones and congestion zones as well. If you've got a non-compliant vehicle, to get into the centre part now will cost you the best part of £30 a day. Every day. Obviously, no hybrids now, so even a ubiquitous Prius has got to pay to get in the middle bit. The only vehicles in that orange section, of course, are just EVs. As an industry, I think possibly we've taken our eye off this subject. Obviously, we're aware of Euro 4, Euro 5, and of course, Euro 6. And then, of course, the EV thing seems to have muddied the water. But in the background, we still have stuff going on. And, of course, that is Euro 7. Euro 7 will start from 2025. Now, I know we've left Europe, but we are still going to continue with the same emission targets just to make selling vehicles that much easier within the UK. So Euro 7 is a thing. The problem with Euro 7 is the requirements to meet Euro 7. Now, it has almost been finalised, and those emission standards are unbelievable. We'll have a little brief look at them in a moment. But basically, a lot of vehicle manufacturers are of the conclusion that effectively Euro 7 is electrification through the back door. That's what BMW say. They say to meet Euro 7, you might as well just say go electric, because that will be easier than meeting Euro 7. Hyundai have stopped all combustion development for Europe because of Euro 7. Nissan have stopped all combustion development because of Euro 7. So Euro 7 is a big, big problem that I think, again, we've not acknowledged the significance of Euro 7. The significance is the exhaust system. Now, this is on a petrol vehicle, not diesel, but petrol. And that means it will have to have AdBlue. The front cap will be electrically heated. And because of the issues with the AdBlue itself, which, as you know, contains ammonia, you've got things known as ASCs. ASCs stands for ammonia slip cats. So they are cats to capture any ammonia that slipped through the SCR reaction. So this exhaust system is going to be like nothing you've seen ever. From a manufacturing perspective, the biggest issue is the vehicle manufacturer will have to guarantee that for 150,000 miles, which then makes the car uneconomic. And that's what they're saying, that yes, it is possible we may be able to meet Euro 7, but at what cost, and is it worth it? And the conclusion is, it's not. So most vehicle manufacturers, which I'm sure you've seen recently, are launching their last combustion vehicles as we speak, which will remain Euro 6, and they can sell that vehicle for about 18 months after the 2025 date, but only as a Euro 6 vehicle. And they just won't bother trying to do Euro 7. Obviously, been spent by my associate, Mr. Denton, about the requirements for electric vehicle training. I won't bore you with too much details on that because of time. But interestingly, this has started this year. Vehicle manufacturers are now providing electric vehicle only apprenticeships. We've seen the adverts and that running in London now. So vehicle manufacturers are of the conclusion that they do not need any more mechanically qualified technicians. They're going for electric vehicle only technicians. Now, if nothing else tells you about changing times, that should tell you. Because in their opinion, clearly, they've got enough mechanically technicians to cover what they need to cover, but what they need in abundance are just pure EV technicians. Obviously, we know there's a requirement through the Electricity at Works Act, so there is a legal requirement, if we've not had time to discuss that, but again, time's against us, but there is a legal requirement under the Electricity at Works Act. Once that's all completed, there is a further requirement to maintain that qualification, again, known as TechSafe, a bit like the Corgi gas register, that sort of thing, but again, we can discuss that at a later stage. Looking at a few, as we said before, facts and fiction. Obviously, our vehicles have got a 12-volt battery, and you know that can be an easy thing. I don't need to be qualified to change a 12-volt battery. I can just change a 12-volt battery. First of all, of course, you might see at the top that our 12-volt batteries are recharged from what's known as a D to the DC converter, which will receive its power from the main high-voltage battery. So there is a health and safety risk with that. But vehicle manufacturers are looking for the next game. So what have we done? Hyundai and Kia, you've now got no 12-volt battery anymore. The 12-volt battery is gone. And what you've got is a proportion of the high-voltage battery is the 12-volt battery. So to replace the 12-volt battery on that vehicle, what's got to come out? The main high-voltage battery. So whatever you do, don't try and jump-start that car, because it can be awfully expensive. And don't get the apprentice to try and find the 12-volt battery. That's not very nice, is it? Because they'll be on it all day and you still won't find it. But that just shows you things are changing and how quick things are changing. Another thing, again, no disrespect, but it's something that I come across because I had to do some help. Obviously, companies are now concerned about the exposure they're going to put their employees against. So, someone like QuickFit, I don't know if you can see it from this distance, but I can read it to you. This was on my old Outlander plug-in hybrid, and the actual says there that, you know, QuickFit do have 2 batteries for an Outlander, but below it, it says we currently cannot fit batteries to an EV or plug-in hybrid vehicle. Now, that is someone like QuickFit that on their own worldwide website tells you we cannot fit, we are not allowed at the moment or are unable to fit your 12-volt battery. What confidence would that give your customer if you said, yeah, I can work on a car, but I can't change the 12-volt battery? Because anybody's going to think, well, that's pretty straightforward. We know it's not, but you would expect they could do it. But they can't do it. They cannot replace a 12-volt battery on a hybrid or a plug-in hybrid vehicle. Again, is hydrogen going to be the future? But a few people come on our stand already and say, well, it won't be battery electric, it'll be hydrogen. And we get that all the time, and I put a few things up there. So is hydrogen going to be the future? We've all got our own opinion, but if we look at the facts and the facts. So first of all, I think this is where we get a little bit confused again. Hydrogen may well be the most abundant element in the universe, but on planet Earth, we don't have any. All the hydrogen on planet Earth is contained with something else, either the oceans or hydrocarbon fuel. There's no ready available source of hydrogen we can tap into. We have to manufacture it. We have to manufacture it. Currently, 96%, which is that big blue circle, is made from methane gas. So we get methane gas, we send it through a process known as methane gas steam reforming, and we split the two, so we end up with hydrogen in one hand, and in the other hand we end up with carbon dioxide. So that completely defeats the object of using that as a fuel, because you've made more carbon dioxide. You might as well just burnt the methane gas in a Hummer. So that doesn't work. So the only real place we've got to go is electrolysis, which is that little red bit, which is about 4%. And why is the reason we've only got 4% made through electrolysis? One simple fact: economy. To make 1 kilo of hydrogen from water, electrolyzing it, will require 49 kilowatts of electricity. That 1 kilo of hydrogen will get you about 60 odd miles. 49 kilowatts will get you 250. So basically, and again, you can go home and do all the research, when you're looking at energy, what you want to look at is something known as EROI, energy return on investment. So how much energy you've put in to what you're going to get out. Now, clearly, all energy wants a positive. You put 1 in, you get 10 out. And that is what most energy will work, some with a higher figure than others. When you look at hydrogen, it's a negative. You put 5 in, you get 1 out. How does that make sense? You're going to use 5 units of energy to get 1 unit back out. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? And then, of course, it's not the easiest thing to transport, because it's a high-pressure gas. If we produce electricity in a turbine in Scotland, I can get it to Southampton in 10 seconds down the national grid. If I turn it into hydrogen, I've got to put it on a tanker and drive it the length of the country. And I think to some degree, when I hear people talk about it, I think they just think that hydrogen fuel cell sounds sexy. It sounds Buck Rogers, 21st century. A battery sounds like Benny Hill, Fred Flintstone, doesn't it? It's an ilk float. Doesn't sound sexy. Hydrogen fuel cell sounds sexy. The mayor at Montpellier decided he was going to have a hydrogen bus service because it sounds sexy. By the time he crunched the numbers, his hydrogen bus service will be 6 times dearer than an EV bus service. So guess what? He scrapped the hydrogen bus service and bought 54 electric buses. And this is the classic one we said earlier on. If we've got 100 kilowatts of renewable energy and we run it through a hydrogen fuel cell vehicle, we'll end up with 22 kilowatts at the wheel of the vehicle. We've lost the best part of 82%, just gone. Over 80% is just gone. We run the same 100 kilowatt through the national grid and charge an EV vehicle. We've now got 73 kilowatts at the wheel of the vehicle. A 3-to-1 advantage. When is that hydrogen ever going to get near that EV efficiency? Never. The answer is never. And that's why currently the only car you can buy, Honda's binned their Clarity, so Honda are out. Hyundai has suspended until further notice their development of the Nero or the Neo. And the only one, of course, is Toyota with their Mirai. But in order to have a Mirai, you have to live inside the M25 because it's the only place you've got hydrogen stations. Charging stations, courtesy of ZapMap. Back in 2016, which was the first year I started running electric vehicles, there were 6,500 stations. The majority of those stations would only have one cable. So that was 6,500 stations, and it was almost certainly 6,500 leads. So let's say that. So 6,500 stations, which was 6,500 charging points. That was 2016. If we now come on, 6 years? How many do you reckon at now? Now, most of those stations have got 2 leads. So the change in the charging structure network has been astronomical. Unless you do it, you won't realise it. I go to Scotland, I go to Northern Ireland, I go all around the UK, 20, 30,000 miles a year. I've never, ever, ever had a problem. And when I read in the press that somebody takes 9 hours to do 100 miles in a car, you think, well, they're just because they're an idiot. You know, there's nothing wrong with it. They just don't know what they're doing. Because it's almost impossible to do that. I drove yesterday, I was teaching in Whitstable, and I had to come up here to put the car in the stand. I left Whitstable at 3:30 with a fully charged battery. I drove all the way from Whitstable to NEC, 190 miles, and I've still got 130 left. How's that a problem? How is that a problem? Remember, there are over 400,000 chargers at home and hotels and destination points as well. People say you spend a lot of time charging. In fact, I don't. The majority of the time I'm charging, I'm asleep or at the bar, one or the other. But I'm certainly I'm not waiting for the car to charge, am I? This is a charging hub. We've got quite a few charging hubs coming out now. Cars with a longer range don't require chargers every 10 yards. You can now put them wherever you want. So this is the one at the M6. You've got about 28 charging stations there. Very good. I'm just conscious of my time. Obviously, if you can't charge because you don't have a drive, what could you do? First of all, how many people own a car that can't charge outside? The actual percentage is 20%. So it's only 1 in 5. So it's not an enormous quantity, really, unless it's you, of course. But you've got, obviously, supermarkets, you've got IKEA, you've got lampposts, and you've even got the e-gully, which is something that Oxford Council's doing. So they will install that outside your house, so you can charge your car outside your house as an e-gully. This is a new charging centre in Fulham. So that's a Shell, can't call it a petrol station because water hasn't got any petrol. So that's just a Shell recharge station. And they're making more money out of those sites now than they make out of the conventional petrol station. Because, of course, you're there for 20 minutes. So what do? You buy a coffee and a donut or whatever. So, and, of course, from a business point of view, they don't have to buy the fuel first, do they? When you go to a petrol station, the first thing you've got to do is invest £50,000 and fill the tanks up with fuel. There, you pay for it when the customer fills their car up, don't you? So it's got a much better business proposal. Now, probably going to finish on this one given time, but this is quite interesting because, again, it just shows the lack of knowledge. So this is a not a new centre. This is the services at the M5 at Exeter. Now, for quite some time, all we've had there are those 3 chargers, 2 chargers on each, so 6 chargers in reality. But it's always quite a busy services. So I'm coming back from teaching in Cornwall, and I'm about 6:30 in the evening, and I pull up there, and I am thinking to myself, why are they all empty? Are they all broken? You know, it's the first time I've ever seen them empty. But I'm thinking, well, you know, just one of those days. So I pulled up there, quite surprised that they're all empty. And when I get out of the car, I then see they've got all these other chargers about 20 yards down the car park. And there's about 15 of them. And there's 4 or 5 cars charging there. And I'm thinking to myself, why are those people charging there when they're not down here? So I used the toilet facilities, went and got a coffee. And I had a feeling what it would be. So the chargers I'm at, if you see there, if you can read it, it says medium power. So those chargers I'm using will charge at 120 kilowatts. So they're like 450 volt chargers, which is what most cars have got. And that's good enough charging speed for my car. It's about the same, about the limit of my car. So then I look at these chargers over here. High power charger. But that high power charger is only suitable for 800 volt vehicles. So if your car is not 800 vehicle, and we've only got 4 of them, then of course you'll charge at whatever your car can charge at. So of all those people there, none of those cars there can charge past about 70 odd kilowatts. So they're all paying for a premium service that their cars can't deliver. And when I asked a guy charging up his Nero, why is he using this station? He said, because it says high power. And I said, and what does that mean? I've got no idea. But he's paying 20% more to use those stations. For what purpose? None whatsoever. All because it says high power. What it should say is high power, but not your car. Because it won't be his car. Because again, the only cars that can utilise those stations are the 800 volt vehicles. Because those stations can charge at 350 kilowatts. And again, something as simple as that. I think he thought I was the idiot being down there. Who was the one that left first that day? Me. Because my car can charge faster than those cars. But I didn't need those stations. I could charge faster on that station anyway. Yet they're all paying, all 5 of those people are paying a premium price for a service their cars can't deliver. And that's just, again, an example of lack of knowledge. Just lack of knowledge. Anyway, gentlemen and ladies, I'm sorry that's all the time I'm allowed. So thank you for your attention. If you'd like to have any further discussions, please come over to our stand. Enjoy your show, and we'll see you later on.